Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So let's get on to solving multiple choice questions for prelims 2020 and question number 1. Consider the following statements regarding Himalayan and peninsular rivers. Alright, number 1. The peninsular rivers exhibit greater meandering tendencies and shift their course more frequently than the Himalayan rivers. Alright, and the second statement is the Himalayan rivers form a dendritic pattern in plains while peninsular rivers form trellis, radial and rectangular patterns. So options are either way obvious, one, only, two, only, both or none. So pause a bit and try to come up with the right answer. Now herein answer is option number 2 is correct and option number 1 is incorrect, because the meandering is a characteristic of the Himalayan rivers and not of the peninsular rivers. So herein Himalayan rivers exhibit greater meandering tendencies and shift their courses more frequently, because Himalayan rivers are quite strong, they have a huge volume of water. So when they enter plain area, then all of a sudden, just because the volume of water is huge but the underlying area is flat, so they start meandering. Plus, because they are young, they have a huge volume of water, that's how they shift their courses more frequently. Whereas peninsular rivers, they do not exhibit, on a relative basis they do not exhibit these characteristics. तो अगर Himalayan और peninsular में comparison आएगा, so the Himalayans are the one exhibiting meandering and shifting their courses more frequently. And statement number 2 is indeed correct, that yes, Himalayan rivers form a dendritic pattern in plains. We can look at the Ganga river and at the Yamuna river. Their pattern is as if of branches of a tree. So there is a main river and then there are subsidiary river joining them, as if the branches of trees are joining the main branch. That's how the Himalayan rivers show a dendritic pattern in plains areas, of course. And peninsular rivers, they form trellis, radial and rectangular patterns, because peninsula is basically a plateau. It's comprised of hard rocks. So that's how the pattern made by river is of trellis in nature, radial and rectangular. So that's it. It's from NCERT and we have proper diagrams and all in the book. So if you're finding it difficult, then do read the basic sources. This is just an MCQ, not to be understood the concept per se in its entirety, just to apply the concept. Here is our motive. Now let's get on to second question. Again, difficult or easy depending upon how our science is. So consider the statements about the trans fats. Alright, number 1. It's a type of saturated fat that occurs in small amount in meat and dairy products. Alright, second is artificial trans fats are produced during the process of hydrogenation of vegetable oils. Alright, and the last is the current permitted level of trans fats in food items is 2% in India. Alright, so which of the statements given above are correct? 2 only, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, or all of these? So pause a bit, because trans fat is really all over the news. So herein do try to come up with the right answer, and let's see the answer now. So basically trans fats are a type of unsaturated fats and not the saturated fats. They are a form of unsaturated fats, and that make us say that statement number 1 is incorrect, although they are indeed found in small amount in meat and dairy products, but they are not saturated, they are unsaturated. So saturated got double bond and maybe more than one bond, and unsaturated got the single bond, but this is not our point of concern. Statement number 1 is wrong. Statement number 2 is indeed correct, that yes, although they are naturally found, but if we are to produce them artificially, then vegetables oils are undergone a process named as hydrogenation. So basically, as the name entails, hydrogen is passed on to these oils, and that's how their bonds are broken, and that's how artificial trans fats are produced. So statement number 2 is indeed correct. Now statement number 3 is not correct, because as of now the permitted level of trans fat in food items in India is 5%. So 2020 right now we are into, so it's 5%. And let's look at few more details here. Artificial trans fats are created in an industrial process that adds hydrogen to liquid vegetable oils to increase their shelf life. I mean, of course, there has to be some sort of benefit associated with the trans fats. That's why we are using it so much. So this is the benefit. It increases the shelf life of the product. It makes them look really, really good. So all the crispy things, the cookies, the chips and anything that we are eating that seems so tasty and good, that has this artificial trans fat in it. And now this is important, that the WHO, that is World Health Organization, has asked all the nations to eliminate the use of trans fat by 2023. Alright, and India stated that it would go in a phase manner. First of all, it would be reduced to 3% by 2021. As of now, its usage is 5%, permissible level. By 2021, it would be 3%, and by 2022, it would be 2%, and maybe by 23, we'd be going towards 1 or 0, but it's not written over here. So India's strategies are going in a phased manner. Trans fat as of now is 5%, 3% by 2021, and 2% by 2020. And basically, World Health Organization has asked all the nations to eliminate it by 2023. So that's it. And what we are calling it the replace action package. Although I do not think it's important, but again, anything can be asked. So it's the replace action package of WHO. It is about what? It is about eliminating the trans fats. Now this is again important. Trans fats are easy to use, inexpensive to produce, and last a long time. Trans fats give foods a desirable taste and texture. The primary dietary source for trans fats in processed food is partially hydrogenated oils. All the oils that we buy in terms of refined oils, and trans fats raise the bad cholesterol. Now this too can be a probable question. LDL is a good cholesterol or a bad cholesterol? So LDL is a bad cholesterol, and trans fat increases its level, and it lowers the good cholesterol level, which is HDL. Eating trans fats increases the risk of developing heart disease and stroke, because it raises the bad cholesterol level. So it's either way obvious that we can have higher chances of getting heart attack and strokes or diabetes 2 type. So that's it, we are done. Now let's get on to the third question. In the context of securities market, what do you understand by the terms rights issue? Alright, the first one is, it refers to raising capital from the existing shareholders of the company. Alright. Second is, it is the process of offering share of a private corporation to the public in a new stock issuance. Third is, it is a provision allowed by SEBI in the qualified foreign investors, in which qualified foreign investors are allotted shares at a domestic share price. Again, slightly difficult, and this is not the answer, so do not worry about it. And last is, it is a provision of selling shares to a select group of angel investors through a process of direct negotiations. So D is again not the answer. So what is the answer here? Rights issue. Right means the right. The right means right. Of what? Of issue, as in to buy the issued share of a company. What sort of share? The one that is issued by a company to the existing shareholders. So A is our answer here. It refers to raising capital from the existing shareholders of the company. So basically we know issuance of shares is quite a lengthy and time consuming process. So basically companies try to sell their shares. If at all they are to issue new shares, they try to sell it to the existing shareholders, and this is what we call as a rights issue. Right hai but not the obligation. The existing shareholders, they are free to buy or not to buy. So ऐसा कुछ ऑब्लिगेशन नहीं है उन पे कि उनको ख़रीदना ही है. सपोज देयर इज़ अ कंपनी ए और हमारे पास उनके 10 शेयर्स हैं. अब कंपनी और शेयर इशू कर रही है तो हमको पहले बोलेगी कि आप ये शेयर खरीद लीजिए, तो हमारा मर्जी है हम लेंगे या नहीं लेंगे, एंड दिस इज़ व्हाट इज़ द राइट्स इशू एंड दैट्स इट. देयर इज नथिंग डिफिकल्ट हियर. So it's really simple. It refers to raising capital from the existing shareholders of the company. Existing shareholders is our keyword here. Or that's it. Now let's get on to the last question, which is consider the following statements regarding the Weevils breakdown plan. Very important. So what is it? This plan envisaged the transfer of power directly to the provinces and the princely states. ऑल राइट. तो वेवल प्लान ने बोला, ब्रेक डाउन प्लान ने, कि हम पावर को सीधा प्रोविंसेस और प्रिंसली स्टेट्स को ट्रांसफ़र करते हैं. सेकेंड, इट वॉज इनकॉर्पोरेटेड बाय द कैबिनेट मिशन प्लान. तो जो कैबिनेट मिशन प्लान आया उसने ये वेवल प्लान के आइडियाज़ को इनकॉर्पोरेट किया. सो विच ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट्स गिवन अबव इज आर करेक्ट? वन ओनली, टू ओनली, बोथ और नन. नाउ हियर इन नन ऑफ दीज स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट. Wavell was basically the viceroy of India in the year 1946. Breakdown plan as in to break the country into two parts, and how exactly it is to be happening. So Wavell gave an idea that let's just give the present day India to the Congress. So present day India comprises of our southern states and all the states, and give it to Congress, because Congress is having very good hold over the present day India, and give the and just go back to the present day Pakistan and keep our forces there. So that's how country would be broken down into two. So this was the plan, and we know nothing of this sort happened. So cabinet mission plan did not incorporate any such weird idea. So this was basically it. The breakdown plan of 1946 envisaged the withdrawal of British army and officials to the Muslim provinces of northwest, which is present day Pakistan, and northeast, which is present day Bangladesh, and handing over the rest of the country, which is present day India, to the Congress. And the plan was superseded by the cabinet mission plan because it was such a weird and absurd idea, and it wasn't getting effectuated at all. Cabinet mission plan was altogether a different thing, and based on which we did have the Constituent Assembly. That's it. So let's not deviate. We are done with the Wavell's breakdown plan. The year is important, 1946, and that's it. So if you've gotten any sort of confusion, do let me know in the comment section. We'll go through that question once again, and either way we are done. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.